The Alpha King thought she would come back. Then he saw her wearing another Alpha's ring. Chapter 1. The day Alara Ashwood left the kingdom, nobody tried to stop her. That was the part she remembered most. Not the rain, not the cold wind, not even the tears she cried after crossing the border. It was the silence, the complete silence. No one came after her. No one called her name. No one asked her to stay. After 5 years serving inside the Alpha King's palace, she disappeared like a forgotten shadow. And the kingdom moved on. At least that was how it seemed. Alara adjusted the basket in her hands and continued walking through the village market. 3 years had passed since then. 3 long years. Now she lived in the mountain territory of Silver Ridge, far from the kingdom she once called home, far from Alpha King Ronan Blackthorn, far from the mistake she never wanted to remember. Alara, a cheerful voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned. An elderly woman waved from a flower stall. "Good morning, Mrs. Breyer." The old woman smiled. "Another delivery?" "3 deliveries today." "You work too hard." Alara laughed softly. "Someone has to keep this village healthy." That part was true. After arriving in Silver Ridge, she had trained as a healer. At first, she knew almost nothing, but she learned quickly. And over time, people began trusting her. Not because of her wolf, not because of status, because she cared. The old woman suddenly lowered her voice. "Have you heard?" "Heard what?" "The Alpha is returning today." Alara froze. Her stomach tightened instantly. Not because she feared Silver Ridge's Alpha. She respected him. Everyone did. Alpha Darius Vale was fair and honorable. The problem was something else. Someone else. What happened? Alara asked carefully. The Alpha attended the royal gathering. Her fingers tightened around the basket. Royal gathering. The words alone hurt. Did he enjoy it? Mrs. Breyer nodded. Apparently several kingdoms attended. Alara forced a smile. "I see." She quickly finished the conversation and continued down the road. But her heart refused to calm. Royal gatherings always reminded her of Ronan, the man she once loved, the man who never knew, the man who never asked. 3 years ago, she had believed fate had chosen him for her. She had been wrong, painfully wrong. The memory arrived without warning. The palace courtyard, the spring festival, the scent bond. The moment her wolf recognized its mate, Ronan, Alpha King Ronan Blackthorn, the most powerful alpha in the Northern Territories. She remembered how happy she had felt. For exactly 12 seconds. Then came reality. She was an Omega servant. He was a king. A week later, he announced his engagement to a noblewoman, and Alara learned her place. She never told him. Never confessed. Never fought. She simply left. Because some battles were already lost. By sunset, Alara finally returned home. The small cottage sat near the edge of the forest. Simple, peaceful, safe. Exactly what she needed. She opened the door. A familiar voice greeted her immediately. "You're late." Alara smiled. The speaker sat beside the fireplace. Tall, broad-shouldered, calm. Alpha Darius Vale, leader of Silver Ridge. And the man most of the village secretly hoped she would marry. "You're supposed to be resting," Alara said. Darius shrugged. "You said the same thing yesterday." "Because it's true." A faint smile touched his lips. That smile always surprised her. Most people feared Darius. Only a few knew how kind he actually was. "How was the royal gathering?" she asked. The smile vanished. Immediately. Alara noticed. "So it was bad?" Darius looked toward the window. "No." "Then what happened?" For several seconds he said nothing. Then he spoke quietly. "I saw Ronan." The basket slipped from her hands. Vegetables rolled across the floor. Neither of them moved. Neither spoke. The room suddenly felt too small, too warm, too dangerous. Darius slowly stood. His expression was unreadable. "Alara." She stared at the floor, unable to breathe, unable to think, unable to escape the name. Ronan. After 3 years, hearing it still hurt. "Did he ask about me?" she whispered. Darius hesitated. That hesitation terrified her. Then he answered, Yes. Her heart stopped. Just for a moment. He remembered me? Darius looked directly into her eyes. No. The answer hit harder than she expected. She laughed once. A broken sound. Of course. But Darius wasn't finished. He didn't remember you. His voice grew darker. He was searching for you. The room fell silent. Ilara slowly raised her head. What? Darius stepped forward. His eyes held something she had never seen before. Concern, worry, maybe even fear. Then he revealed the one thing she never expected. The Alpha King has spent 3 years trying to find the woman who disappeared from his palace. Ilara's blood turned cold, because she knew something Ronan didn't. If he ever found her, he would discover why she had really left. And that secret could change both their lives forever. Chapter 2. Ilara barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ronan. Not the king everyone admired. Not the alpha warriors followed without question. The man. The one she had watched from a distance for years. The one she had loved in silence. The one who never knew. The fire had long burned out, yet she remained awake, listening to the wind outside, listening to her own racing heart. Across the room, Darius sat quietly reading reports. Eventually, he looked up. You should sleep. Ilara gave a weak smile. You should rest. Fair. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Darius closed the report. You're afraid. It wasn't a question. Ilara stared into the darkness. Maybe. Because Ronan is searching? Because of what happens if he finds me. Darius's expression tightened. He understood. Perhaps better than anyone. For 3 years, he had protected her secret. A secret that could shake kingdoms. A secret only 3 people knew. Ilara, Darius, and the old healer who had died 2 winters ago. Nobody else. Not even Ronan. Especially not Ronan. The next morning arrived too quickly. Ilara threw herself into work. Patients, herbs, deliveries. Anything to stay busy. Anything to stop thinking. Unfortunately, fate had other plans. Around noon, the village bell rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Everyone stopped. People emerged from homes and shops. Children ran toward the main road. Something unusual was happening. Very unusual. Ilara stepped outside. What is it? She asked. A blacksmith pointed toward the valley entrance. Visitors. Her stomach immediately tightened. Visitors were rare. Large groups were even rarer. Then she saw them. Dozens of mounted warriors. Black armor. Silver insignias. Massive wolves running beside them. The crowd gasped. Ilara's blood froze. She knew those colors. Knew them instantly. Blackthorn Kingdom. Ronan's warriors. No, she whispered. The words escaped before she realized it. Beside her, Mrs. Breyer frowned. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. Panic surged through her chest. Why were they here? Why now? Had he found her? The mounted group entered the village. People stepped aside respectfully. At their center rode a familiar figure. Not Ronan. Someone worse. Commander Cade Mercer. Ronan's closest friend. His most trusted warrior. The man who had overseen palace security for years. If Cade was here, this wasn't a coincidence. This was a search. And searches meant questions. Questions led to answers. Answers led to disaster. Cade dismounted. The village alpha approached him. They exchanged greetings. Then Cade's gaze swept across the crowd. Searching. Looking. Hunting. Ilara immediately turned away. Too late. His eyes landed on her. Everything stopped. For one terrible second, neither moved. Recognition flashed across his face. Shock followed. Then disbelief. Ilara? The name cut through the crowd. Heads turned. People looked at her. Questions appeared instantly. She felt trapped. Exposed. Cornered. Cade took several steps forward. I knew it. Her pulse thundered. Cade? 3 years. His voice sounded almost angry. 3 years. And this is where you've been? People exchanged confused looks. Nobody understood. But Alara did. Cade had always been kind to her, like an older brother. That somehow made this worse. "Please," she whispered. "Not here." Cade studied her carefully. Then his expression softened. "You're safe?" The question surprised her. "Yes." "You've been safe all this time?" "Yes." A long breath escaped him. Relief. Actual relief. Which made no sense. Before she could ask why, another voice interrupted. "Commander." A warrior approached. Cade nodded, then looked back at Alara. "We need to talk." Her stomach dropped. "No." His eyebrows lifted. "No? I have work." "Alara." "No." For the first time, frustration appeared on Cade's face. "You disappeared. I left. You vanished. I survived." The words came out sharper than intended. Silence followed. Several villagers shifted awkwardly. Then Cade lowered his voice. "Ronan has been searching for you." Every sound in the village disappeared. At least to Alara. She heard nothing else. Only those words. Searching. For her. Why? The question had haunted her since Darius mentioned it. Now it returned stronger than ever. Why? Ronan never loved her. Never chose her. Never even noticed her. So why search? As if reading her thoughts, Cade answered. "Because he needs to find you." A chill ran down her spine. Needs. Not wants. Needs. There was a difference. And she wasn't sure she liked it. "What happened?" she asked quietly. Cade hesitated, then shook his head. "Not here." That answer frightened her even more. Before she could respond, a powerful voice echoed across the square. "Commander." Everyone turned. Alpha Darius stood near the gathering, his posture calm, his expression unreadable. Yet the tension was unmistakable. The two alphas locked eyes. Instantly, the air changed. Predators recognizing predators. Cade stepped forward. "Alpha Darius." "Darius is fine." A brief pause. Then Cade nodded. "Darius." Alara noticed something strange. Neither man smiled. Neither relaxed. And suddenly she understood. Darius already knew why they had come. Which meant the situation was worse than she thought. Much worse. That evening, after the villagers returned home, Cade finally spoke privately with Alara and Darius. The conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. Yet it changed everything. Cade stood beside the fireplace, his face serious. "He knows." Alara's heart nearly stopped. "What?" Cade nodded slowly. "Ronan knows someone hid information from him." Her hands began shaking. "No, no, no. This couldn't happen. Not now. Not after 3 years." "What information?" Darius asked. Cade's eyes moved toward Alara. Then he spoke the words she had feared most. "The night you disappeared." He swallowed. "Someone erased your entire palace record." The room fell silent. Alara stared at him, cold spreading through every part of her body. Because she knew exactly who had erased those records. And if Ronan discovered why, the truth she had hidden for 3 years would finally come to light. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what Cade said next. The person responsible was found dead last week. And suddenly, Alara realized this was never just a search. Someone was covering up the past. And someone was willing to kill for it. The knock on the cottage door came at that exact moment. 3 slow knocks. Heavy, deliberate, dangerous. Darius moved first. His wolf instantly alert. Cade reached for his weapon. Alara's heart pounded. Then a familiar voice spoke from outside. A voice none of them expected. A voice that should have been hundreds of miles away. "Open the door." Silence filled the cottage. Because they all recognized the speaker. Alpha King Ronan Blackthorn had arrived. Chapter 3. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The voice outside came again. Calm, controlled, dangerously familiar. "Open the door." Alara felt the room tilt beneath her feet. This wasn't supposed to happen. Cade had arrived first. There should have been days before Ronan followed. Maybe weeks. Not hours. Never hours. Darius stepped toward the door. His wolf was close to the surface now. Ready. watching, protecting. Cade looked genuinely surprised. You weren't supposed to be here until tomorrow. A deep voice answered from outside. Neither were you. Then silence. Heavy silence. The kind that made hearts race. Finally, Darius opened the door. The cold evening air rushed inside, and there he stood, Alpha King Ronan Blackthorn. 3 years. 3 entire years. Yet he looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, powerful, dark-haired, broad shoulders, sharp jaw. The kind of man people noticed instantly. The kind of man kingdoms followed. The kind of man she had spent years trying to forget. His gaze swept across the room. First Darius, then Cade, then her. Everything stopped. For a second, nobody spoke. Ronan stared at her. Alara stared back. 3 years of memories crashed between them. Pain, regret, questions. Yet something felt wrong. Very wrong. His eyes held confusion, not recognition. Confusion, as though he knew her face but couldn't place it. That hurt more than she expected. Finally, Ronan spoke. You're Ilara. Not a question. A statement. She swallowed. Yes. Another silence followed. Then he said something unexpected. You look different. Of all the things he could have said, that wasn't what she expected. Neither did anyone else. Cade looked confused. Darius looked annoyed. Alara simply stared. 3 years apart? And that's what he noticed? Ronan cleared his throat. I mean, for the first time in his life, the Alpha King seemed unsure of himself. You seem stronger. Alara blinked. That answer surprised her. Before she could respond, Darius stepped forward. What exactly do you want? Straight to the point. Ronan's expression hardened. The moment vanished. The king returned. I need answers. Darius crossed his arms. So does she. The tension in the room immediately doubled. Cade sighed quietly, clearly wishing he were somewhere else. Ronan's eyes returned to Alara. I've spent 3 years looking for you. The words landed heavily. Alara felt her chest tighten. Why? There. The question was finally spoken aloud. Why? Why search? Why now? Why her? Ronan stared at her for several seconds. Then he answered honestly. I don't know. The room fell silent. Even Darius looked surprised. Ronan rubbed his jaw, frustrated. I should have forgotten you. Alara's heart twisted painfully. But I couldn't. That wasn't the answer she expected. Not even close. You were a palace servant. His voice grew quieter. You disappeared. He looked genuinely troubled. And something felt wrong. Wrong. Not love, not longing. Wrong. Like a missing piece. Like an unfinished thought. Like a mystery. Alara wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or hurt. Maybe both. Cade spoke next. It started after the records disappeared. Ronan nodded. I noticed small things. What things? Alara asked. His gaze met hers. There were references to you everywhere. She frowned. What? Kitchen reports. Supply requests. Medical logs. Guard notes. Ronan shook his head. Everyone seemed to know who you were. His eyes narrowed. But according to the official records, you barely existed. A chill ran through the room. Someone had erased her. Carefully. Completely. But not perfectly. Enough traces remained to raise questions. Questions that had eventually reached Ronan. Who deleted them? Darius asked. Ronan's expression darkened. We don't know. Cade answered instead. The clerk responsible was murdered. Again that word. Murdered. Alara hated how real it sounded. This wasn't palace gossip anymore. Someone was dead. Someone had killed to keep secrets buried. Ronan stepped closer. Tell me the truth. Her pulse quickened. What truth? Why did you leave? The question hit harder than expected. Because the answer was standing right in front of her. You. She almost said it. Almost. But years of silence stopped her. You announced your engagement. His face tightened. That's why? You were happy. No. The answer came instantly. Too instantly. Everyone stared at him, including Ronan himself, as though he hadn't meant to say it out loud. The room became very quiet. Alara searched his face. "You weren't happy?" Something flickered in his eyes. Regret. Deep regret. But before he could answer, a loud crash echoed outside. Everyone jumped. Another crash followed. Then shouting. Warriors! Running! Alarmed. Darius reached the window first. His expression immediately changed. "What is it?" Cade asked. Darius looked toward the forest. His face pale. "Tracks." Ronan moved beside him. "What kind of tracks?" For the first time since arriving, Darius looked genuinely worried. "Rogue wolves." Cade frowned. "How many?" The answer chilled everyone. "Hundreds." The room exploded into motion. Warriors rushed outside. Orders echoed through the village. Torches appeared. Weapons were drawn. Alara followed them onto the porch. The night felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Even the wind had stopped. Then she smelled it. Blood. Fresh blood. A scout stumbled from the trees. Injured. Terrified. He collapsed near the square. Ronan reached him first. "What happened?" The scout struggled to breathe. His eyes darted toward the forest. "They're coming!" "Who?" The scout grabbed Ronan's arm, his voice shaking. "Not rogues." Every warrior froze. Fear spread instantly, because rogues were dangerous, but something else was worse. Much worse. The scout swallowed hard, then whispered 2 words. "Shadow wolves." The color drained from Cade's face. Darius cursed. Even Ronan looked stunned. Alara didn't understand, but everyone else clearly did. "What are shadow wolves?" she asked. Nobody answered immediately. Finally, Cade spoke. "They're supposed to be extinct." The scout laughed weakly. A terrified laugh. "Apparently not." Then he pulled something from his pocket. A piece of black cloth. Torn. Burned at the edges. Marked with a silver symbol. The moment Ronan saw it, his expression changed completely. Shock. Disbelief. Fear. Real fear. Impossible. Alara looked at the symbol. She had never seen it before. But Ronan had. So had Cade. So had Darius. Because all 3 men suddenly realized the same thing. This attack wasn't random. This wasn't about territory. This wasn't about power. Someone had come looking for a specific person, and when Ronan finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. They found her. Ilara's heart stopped, because his eyes were locked directly on her. Chapter 4. The entire village seemed to freeze. No one spoke. No one moved. Only the crackling of distant torches broke the silence. Alara stared at Ronan. "They found me?" His eyes never left hers. "That's what I think." Think, not know. Yet somehow that frightened her even more, because Ronan Blackthorn was not a man who guessed. Not without reason. Darius stepped between them. "What aren't you telling us?" Ronan's jaw tightened. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he looked toward the forest. They disappeared 18 years ago. Nobody understood. Except Cade. The commander looked sick. Actually sick. Alara had never seen anything like it. "Damn it," Cade muttered. "You promised we would never discuss this again." Ronan ignored him. The king's attention remained fixed on the dark woods. The shadow wolves weren't simply a rogue pack. Alara listened carefully. Every instinct told her this mattered. A lot. They were hunters. Hunters of what? She asked. Ronan hesitated, then finally answered. Gifted wolves. A chill spread through the crowd. The injured scout lowered his head, as if he already knew the story. Ronan continued. They believed certain bloodlines carried rare abilities. Healing, enhanced senses, mind bonds, future sight. Alara frowned. Those sounded like old legends, children's stories, not reality, yet nobody laughed. Nobody dismissed it, which meant everyone else believed it. Most people thought the shadow wolves died during the last pack war. Ronan's voice darkened. Apparently they survived. The injured scout spoke. They attacked a border settlement yesterday. Everyone looked at him. His hands trembled. They didn't take gold. They didn't take supplies. They didn't take prisoners. A horrible realization crossed Darius's face. What did they take? The scout swallowed. Records. Silence. Pure silence. Ronan closed his eyes, just briefly, as though that answer confirmed something terrible. What records? Kate asked. Birth records. The world seemed to tilt. Alara felt sick. Birth records. Not money. Not weapons. Records. Names. Families. Bloodlines. People. The implication was horrifying. Someone was searching for specific individuals, specific bloodlines, specific gifts, and somehow she was connected. The realization hit her hard. No. The word escaped before she could stop it. Everyone turned toward her. No? Ronan asked. I'm not special. Her voice sounded weak, uncertain. I've never been special. That part was easy to believe. She had spent most of her life invisible, ignored, forgotten, overlooked. Yet Darius suddenly looked away, and that scared her. Because Darius knew things he rarely shared. Alara, he said quietly. The room grew still. She stared at him. What? Darius didn't answer immediately. His eyes met Ronan's, then Cade's. A silent conversation passed between them, and Alara hated every second of it. Finally, she stepped forward. What do you know? Darius sighed. A long, tired sigh. The old healer who trained you. Her stomach tightened. What about her? Before she died. He paused. She told me something. Alara's heartbeat accelerated. What? The Alpha looked genuinely reluctant, as though he wished he could take the words back before speaking them. But it was too late. Your healing ability isn't normal. Silence. Then laughter. Alara laughed. Because the alternative was impossible. That's ridiculous. Nobody joined her. Not one person. The laughter died instantly. Ronan's eyes narrowed. What healing ability? Darius looked uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. She recovers patients faster than anyone I've seen. Lots of healers do. No. Darius shook his head. Not like this. Alara stared at him. What are you talking about? The fever outbreak. Her stomach dropped. She remembered that. Everyone did. 2 winters ago, nearly 30 villagers had fallen ill. Many should have died. Instead, all 30 survived. At the time, everyone had called it luck. Apparently not everyone, Darius continued. The healer examined your patients. Yes. She couldn't explain why they recovered. A strange feeling settled inside Alara. Unease, confusion, fear. That's impossible. Maybe. Darius looked away. But she believed your blood carried something rare. The room remained silent. Nobody knew what to say. Because if it was true, everything changed. Suddenly, a loud howl echoed from the forest. Long, low, unnatural. The villagers immediately panicked. Children cried. Warriors rushed toward the defensive walls. Another howl followed. Closer this time. Much closer. Ronan moved instantly. Everyone inside. People obeyed without hesitation. Even though this wasn't his territory. Even though he wasn't their alpha. Some leaders simply carried authority wherever they went. Within minutes, the village square emptied. Only the warriors remained. Torches burned brightly. Weapons gleamed. The night felt alive, watching, waiting. Alara stood beside Darius near the wall. Her hands shook. She hated feeling helpless. Then something unexpected happened. Ronan appeared beside her. Close, too close. For a second, neither spoke. Then he surprised her again. Are you afraid? She laughed softly. What do you think? A faint smile touched his lips. The first smile she had seen from him in years. Fair answer. Silence followed. Not uncomfortable silence. Just quiet. Strange quiet. The kind that appeared between people who didn't know each other anymore. Eventually, Ronan spoke again. I never thanked you. She blinked. For what? His expression became thoughtful. There was a winter storm. Her breath caught. She remembered. Of course she remembered. 5 years ago, a brutal storm had struck the kingdom. Many palace workers became trapped, including Ronan. At the time, he had suffered a serious wound. Most people didn't know. The injury had nearly turned deadly. But Alara remembered, because she had stayed with him all night, changing bandages, bringing water, keeping him awake. He had barely looked at her, yet she stayed anyway. "You remember that," she whispered. Ronan nodded slowly. "I remember waking up." His gaze met hers, and finding you there. Something tightened painfully inside her chest. Because she remembered that night too well. The way she had looked at him, the way she had loved him, the way she had known he would never feel the same. Then a distant scream shattered the moment. Everyone spun toward the forest. The scream ended abruptly, cut off. As though someone had silenced it. Ronan's wolf surged instantly. Darius's followed. Every warrior tensed. A scout appeared moments later, running, bleeding, terrified. "Alpha," Darius caught him before he fell. "What happened?" The scout's face was ghost white, his breathing ragged. They crossed the river. The village erupted into chaos. Impossible. The river protected the entire eastern border. No enemy should have crossed it. Not without being seen. Not without losses. Not without warning. Yet somehow they had. "How many?" Ronan demanded. The scout looked directly at him, then answered. "Thousands." The color drained from every face. Thousands. Not hundreds. Thousands. This wasn't a raid. This wasn't an attack. This was an invasion. But the scout wasn't finished. His trembling hand reached into his pocket. He removed a folded piece of parchment. Blood stained its edges. Darius took it, then immediately passed it to Ronan. The king opened it, read the message, and froze. Alara had never seen fear on Ronan's face before. Not real fear. Until now. Slowly, he handed her the parchment. She looked down and felt her heart stop, because only 3 words were written there. 3 words in dark red ink. "We found her." And beneath those words was a drawing. A perfect drawing. Of Alara. Chapter 5. The parchment slipped from Alara's fingers. It fluttered to the ground. Nobody moved to pick it up. Nobody needed to. They had all seen it. The drawing, the message, the certainty. Someone knew exactly who she was. And they wanted her. A cold wind swept across the village walls. For the first time in years, Alara felt truly afraid. Not for herself, for everyone around her. Darius bent down and retrieved the parchment. His face hardened as he studied it again. This was delivered on purpose. Cade nodded grimly. "They wanted us to know." "Why?" Alara whispered. No one answered. Because there was only one possible reason. Fear. The Shadow Wolves wanted fear, and they had succeeded. Ronan folded the parchment carefully. His movements were calm. Too calm. The kind of calm warriors used before battle. "We leave before dawn." Darius immediately looked at him. "No." The single word echoed sharply. Ronan's eyes narrowed. "No? She stays here." The 2 alphas stared at one another, neither willing to yield. Alara suddenly felt like she wasn't even in the conversation. As though she were a prize being discussed. A problem to solve. She hated it. "I'm standing right here." Both men looked at her. "Good. Nobody decides where I go except me." Silence followed. Then, surprisingly, Ronan nodded. "Fair." Darius nodded too. "Fair." At least they had enough respect to agree. Alara folded her arms. "Now tell me the truth." Cade sighed. "Dangerous request." "I'm serious." "So are we." She stepped closer. No more half answers. No more secrets. No more mysterious warnings. Her gaze settled on Ronan. "What aren't you telling me?" For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Ronan looked toward Cade. The commander immediately cursed under his breath. "You're really going to tell her?" "We don't have a choice." Darius looked unhappy, but he didn't disagree. That frightened Alara more than anything. Because Darius disagreed with almost everyone. The fact that he remained silent meant the truth was worse than she imagined. Finally, Ronan faced her. 18 years ago, a child disappeared. Alara frowned. A child? He nodded. A baby girl. The story seemed strange already. Yet something in his voice made her listen carefully. Why does that matter? Because she belonged to one of the oldest bloodlines in wolf history. Alara rolled her eyes. Bloodlines again. This isn't a legend. His voice remained steady. The child vanished during a massacre. The humor immediately left her face. Ronan continued. The shadow wolves attacked a settlement called Mooncrest. The name meant nothing to her. Yet Cade visibly reacted. As did Darius. Apparently they knew the story. Almost everyone died. Ronan's expression darkened. But the child was never found. A terrible feeling settled in Alara's stomach. A feeling she couldn't explain. Who was she? Ronan hesitated. Then answered, No one knows. That surprised her. What? We know who her parents were. We know where she was born. We know what bloodline she carried. His eyes locked onto hers. But the baby vanished before anyone could identify her. The room became very quiet. Too quiet. Alara didn't like where this conversation was heading. Not at all. Why are you telling me this? Nobody answered immediately. Because they all knew. Even she knew. The possibility had already entered her mind. She simply refused to accept it. Then Cade spoke softly. The timing. What timing? The baby's age. Alara's heart began pounding. No. 18 years. No. Darius looked away. No, no, no. The room suddenly felt difficult to breathe in. You think it's me? Nobody answered. That was answer enough. Alara laughed again. A desperate laugh. This is insane. Maybe, Ronan admitted. But maybe not. She shook her head. I grew up in the southern villages. Did you? The question stopped her cold. What does that mean? Ronan stepped closer. When is your birthday? She blinked. What? When is your birthday? She opened her mouth, then stopped. Her birthday? A simple question. A basic question. One everyone should know. Except she didn't. The realization hit her like lightning. Slowly, painfully. She had never known. Not really. The old woman who raised her had simply chosen a date. A date written nowhere. A date supported by no records. Because there were no records. None. Alara felt sick. The room tilted. Ronan saw it immediately. Alara. She backed away. No. His expression softened. Listen to me. No. Her voice cracked. She hated that. Hated how weak she sounded. I can't be that child. You don't know that. I do. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Tiny, poisonous, growing. Because suddenly strange memories returned. Questions she had ignored for years. The old woman who raised her had never discussed her parents. Never. Every question had been avoided. Every answer had been vague. At the time, Alara never cared. Now she did. Now she cared very much. A loud crash interrupted her thoughts. Everyone jumped. The village gate. Another crash followed. Then another. The shadow wolves had arrived. The attack began instantly. War horns sounded. Children screamed. Warriors rushed toward the walls. Darius shifted first. His massive gray wolf exploded from his human form. Ronan shifted seconds later. A gigantic black wolf emerged. Larger than any wolf Alara had ever seen. The sight stole her breath. Even now, even after everything, the Alpha King was terrifying. Cade barked orders. Defenses formed. Archers moved into position. The village transformed into a battlefield. And then the gates broke. Wood splintered. Iron twisted. The enemy surged forward. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Dark wolves flooded toward the settlement. The first clash shook the ground. Howls echoed everywhere. Blood stained the earth. Chaos swallowed the night. Alara immediately rushed toward the healer station. Injured warriors were already arriving, one after another. She worked without stopping. Bandages, medicine, stitches. Everything blurred together. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like minutes. Then something impossible happened. A young warrior collapsed in front of her. A spear wound pierced his chest. The injury was fatal. Everyone knew it. Even he knew it. The boy grabbed her wrist. His eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to die." Alara's heart shattered. Neither healer beside her spoke. Because there was nothing to say. The wound was too severe, too deep, too late. The boy began slipping away, and something inside Alara broke. No. The word escaped her lips. A strange warmth spread through her body. Power, bright, ancient, alive. For one impossible second, silver light flashed beneath her skin. The wounded warrior gasped. The healers froze, and before anyone could react, the massive wound on the young man's chest began closing. By itself. The battlefield seemed to stop. Every healer stared. Every nearby warrior stared. Even Alara stared, because this wasn't medicine, this wasn't skill, this wasn't possible. Within seconds, the fatal wound disappeared completely. The boy sat upright, alive, healthy, breathing. The silence that followed felt endless. Then a terrifying voice echoed across the battlefield. A voice filled with triumph. A voice belonging to the enemy leader. I knew it. Every warrior turned toward the broken gate. A towering wolf stood there, watching, smiling, waiting. His golden eyes locked onto Alara. And the words he spoke next revealed the truth she never wanted to hear. The lost daughter of Mooncrest has finally been found. Chapter 6. The battlefield fell silent. Not completely. Warriors still fought. Wolves still howled. Steel still clashed. But around Alara, everything seemed to stop. The enemy leader stood beyond the shattered gate, watching her, smiling, as though he had finally found something he had been searching for his entire life. The lost daughter of Mooncrest has finally been found. His words echoed through the village, again, and again, and again. Alara felt frozen. No. The denial came automatically, instinctively, desperately. The massive wolf laughed. A deep, terrifying sound. You healed him. He pointed toward the young warrior. You healed a fatal wound. Nobody spoke, because everyone had seen it. Everyone, including Alara. The young warrior touched his chest, his eyes wide with disbelief. The wound was gone, not healing, gone, as though it had never existed. The enemy leader slowly shifted into human form. A tall man emerged. Silver hair, golden eyes, a scar running across his throat. Power radiated from him. Dark power, ancient power, dangerous power. Who is he? Alara whispered. Ronan appeared beside her. Blood stained his clothes. His expression was grim. Malric. The name carried weight. Fear. History. Hatred. Cade arrived seconds later, and the commander looked furious. I thought he died. So did I, Ronan replied. Malric smiled from across the battlefield. I hear that often. The villagers instinctively stepped backward. Even seasoned warriors looked nervous. That alone told Alara everything. This man was not ordinary. Not even close. Malric's attention returned to her. 18 years. His smile widened. 18 years searching. A chill ran down her spine. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. The man actually looked surprised. Why? He laughed softly. As if you don't know. I don't. For the first time, his smile faded. Then he said something that changed everything. Because your mother died protecting you. The world stopped. Mother. The word hit harder than any weapon. Alara had spent her entire life without parents, without answers, without history, without belonging. Now a stranger stood before her speaking about her mother. Tears stung her eyes. Who was she? The question came out broken, small, fragile. Malric's expression softened unexpectedly. Brave. Everyone stared. Apparently that answer surprised them too. She fought until the end. His gaze became distant, almost haunted. Most ran. She didn't. The battlefield disappeared from Alara's mind. Only the story remained. Only the possibility. Only the desperate hope. Her name. Malric looked at her and answered. Lyra Mooncrest. The name meant nothing. Yet somehow, it felt familiar. Like a forgotten melody. Like a dream she once had. Like something buried deep inside her soul. Then Ronan stepped forward. Enough. His voice carried authority. Power. Warning. You're not taking her. The air immediately changed. Malric smiled again. Taking her? His golden eyes narrowed. You still don't understand. Ronan's wolf pushed closer to the surface. Then explain. Malric's gaze moved between them. Then he laughed. A genuine laugh. The sound unsettled everyone. Alpha King. His eyes sparkled with amusement. Do you really think this is about power? Ronan said nothing. Malric pointed toward Alara. She's the last living heir. Silence. Every face turned toward him. The last living heir. The words carried enormous weight. Yet Alara didn't understand. Heir to what? Malric answered immediately. Everything. Nobody liked that answer. Especially Ronan. The Alpha King's expression darkened. Speak clearly. Malric sighed dramatically. As you wish. Then he revealed the secret. The Mooncrest bloodline founded the First Wolf Alliance. Shock spread through the warriors. Cade cursed. Darius looked stunned. Even Ronan seemed surprised. Apparently this was bigger than anyone realized. The old alliance controlled territories, stretching across half the continent. Malric continued. When the bloodline disappeared, those lands fractured. His eyes returned to Alara. But technically, a smile appeared. They still belonged to the rightful heir. The implication hit everyone instantly. Territories, kingdoms, power, wealth, influence. Not a lost servant. Not a forgotten Omega. An heir. A true heir. Alara felt dizzy. This is impossible. Is it? Malric tilted his head. You already know the truth. No. You healed a fatal wound. His voice softened. Just like your mother. The words cut deep. Because part of her believed him. A growing part. And that frightened her more than anything. Suddenly, an arrow flew through the darkness. Straight toward Malric. Ronan had moved. Fast. Deadly. The attack should have worked. It didn't. Malric caught the arrow. Barehanded. The battlefield gasped. Then he snapped it in half. Effortlessly. His smile vanished. The conversation is over. Every warrior tensed. Because something had changed. The playfulness was gone. Now only danger remained. Malric raised his hand. Instantly, hundreds of shadow wolves advanced. Like a tidal wave. Like a living nightmare. The final assault had begun. Chaos exploded. Again. Ronan shifted. Darius shifted. Warriors charged. Blood and fury consumed the battlefield. Alara rushed toward the healer station once more. The injured arrived faster than she could help them. One after another. Too many. Far too many. She worked desperately, ignoring exhaustion, ignoring fear, ignoring the growing silver light beneath her skin, until someone grabbed her arm, hard. She spun around, and froze. Ronan, covered in blood, breathing heavily, his eyes locked onto hers, urgent, terrified. Come with me. What? Now. The command shocked her. Ronan never sounded frightened. Never. Yet fear filled his voice now. Real fear. For her. Before she could respond, a massive explosion shook the village. The eastern wall collapsed. Screams erupted everywhere. Shadow wolves flooded through the opening. The defenses were gone. The village was lost. Ronan pulled her closer. Listen carefully. His hands tightened around hers. The contact sent a strange feeling through her chest. Warm, Familiar. Painfully familiar. If the village falls, Cade will take you north. What about you? His expression hardened. I'll hold them off. No. The word escaped instantly. Ronan looked surprised. So was she. Yet she couldn't take it back. The idea of leaving him behind felt wrong. Terribly wrong. For a brief moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something neither of them understood. Then the moment shattered, because Malric's voice suddenly echoed across the battlefield. Enough! Everything stopped. Even the wolves. Even the fighting. Even the wind. Malric stood atop the ruined gate. His golden eyes burning. His smile gone. His patience exhausted. And beside him stood a woman. A woman wrapped in black. A woman holding a silver blade against someone's throat. Alara's heart stopped, because she recognized the prisoner immediately. Darius, the Alpha of Silver Ridge, captured, helpless, bleeding. The entire battlefield froze. Then the woman lowered her hood, and Alara felt the blood drain from her face. Because she knew her. Impossible. Completely impossible. The woman had died years ago. At least that's what everyone believed. Yet she stood there alive, smiling. And the first words out of her mouth shattered Alara's world forever. Hello, little sister. Chapter 7. Little sister. The words echoed inside Alara's head. Again, and again, and again. Nothing else seemed real. Not the battle, not the wolves, not the blood. Only those two words. Little sister. The woman standing beside Malric smiled calmly, as if she had not just destroyed Alara's entire understanding of her life. As if she had not just rewritten 18 years of history. No. Alara barely recognized her own voice. The woman tilted her head. The gesture felt strangely familiar. Painfully familiar. My name is Seraphine. Her smile softened. And yes, Alara. A pause. We are sisters. The battlefield remained frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even Malric seemed content to let the moment unfold. Alara stared at the woman, searching for a lie. Any lie. But all she found were similarities. The same eyes. The same cheekbones. The same silver glow hidden beneath the skin. Impossible similarities. What is this? Alara whispered. Seraphine's expression changed. For the first time, sadness appeared. Goddess, you really don't know. Those words hurt more than anger would have. Because they sounded genuine. Too genuine. Ronan stepped forward. Let Darius go. Seraphine barely glanced at him. Not yet. Her attention remained fixed on Alara. Come with us. The request shocked everyone, including Malric. Alara saw his surprise immediately. Apparently he had expected something else. Come with you? Seraphine nodded. Please. Please. Not demand. Not order. Please. That single word changed everything. Because villains didn't beg. Yet before Alara could answer, Ronan spoke. No. His voice was ice. Absolute ice. Seraphine finally looked at him properly. For several seconds, neither spoke. The tension between them felt strange. Not hatred. Not exactly. Recognition. History. Old wounds. Then Seraphine smiled faintly. So you're the famous Alpha King. Ronan didn't react. You know who I am. I know exactly who you are. Something about her tone made Alara uneasy. Very uneasy. What does that mean? She asked. Seraphine's smile disappeared. Then she said something nobody expected. He was supposed to protect you. The battlefield went silent again. Ronan froze. Completely froze. And suddenly, every instinct in Alara's body screamed that something was terribly wrong. What are you talking about? Seraphine looked directly at Ronan. Not Alara. Ronan. As a child, you made a promise. The Alpha King's face lost color. Actual color. Cade stared at him. Darius stared at him. Everyone stared at him. Because clearly they had never heard this story either. Seraphine continued. You were 7. She was an infant. Your father carried her from the massacre. Alara felt dizzy. No. 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 This couldn't be real. Yet Ronan wasn't denying it. That terrified her. Ronan? His eyes slowly met hers. Pain filled them. Raw pain. And suddenly she knew. It was true. At least part of it. My father was there, he admitted quietly. The words landed like stones. Ilara could barely breathe. What happened? Nobody answered immediately. Finally, Cade spoke, his voice strained. I didn't know. Neither did Darius. Neither did anyone else. The secret had been buried deeply. For years, maybe decades. Ronan looked toward the ruined gate, as though he hated the memory. Then he spoke. The settlement was burning. His voice sounded distant, lost. There were bodies everywhere. The battlefield disappeared around him. His eyes focused on something only he could see. My father found a baby. Ilara's heart pounded. A baby. Her. The shadow wolves were searching for her. Ronan swallowed. He escaped before they could find her. Silence. Then Ilara asked the question that mattered most. What happened next? Ronan's jaw tightened, and for the first time since meeting him, she saw shame. Real shame. My father hid her. The answer stunned everyone. Where? Ilara asked. I don't know. The words came out harsh. Angry. Directed at himself. He never told me. Seraphine laughed bitterly. Convenient. Ronan ignored her. My father died before he could explain. The battlefield fell silent once more. Because everyone understood. The truth had died with him. Or so they thought. Until now. Seraphine slowly descended from the ruined gate, step by step, never taking her eyes off Ilara. I searched for you. Emotion cracked her voice. For the first time. Not anger, not manipulation, emotion. 18 years. Tears glistened in her eyes. I never stopped searching. Ilara didn't know what to feel. Hope, fear, confusion, all of it, at once. Then Seraphine said something unexpected. Mother survived for 3 days. The words hit like lightning. Ilara froze. What? Seraphine nodded. After the attack. Her own eyes filled with tears. She kept asking for you. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat hurt. A mother she never knew. A mother who had searched for her until the end. The pain was overwhelming. Then Seraphine reached into her cloak. Every warrior tensed. But she withdrew something small. A silver pendant. Simple. Beautiful. Ancient. Ilara stared, and something inside her reacted immediately. The pendant glowed, softly, silver light. The same light hidden beneath Ilara's skin. The same light she used to heal. The battlefield gasped. The connection was undeniable. Seraphine held out the pendant. This belonged to our mother. Tears slid down Ilara's face. Without permission. Without warning. For the first time in her life, she held proof. Proof she had belonged to someone. Proof she had been loved. Proof she wasn't alone. Then Malric ruined everything. Enough. His voice thundered across the battlefield. Seraphine immediately stiffened. The warmth vanished from her expression. The fear returned. Fear? Ilara stared. Seraphine feared Malric. That realization changed everything. Malric approached slowly, his golden eyes cold. You've had your reunion. His gaze moved to Ilara. Now she comes with us. The words sounded less like a request, more like ownership. Ilara hated that. Immediately. No. The answer escaped before she could think. Malric stopped. The battlefield grew dangerously quiet. No? I won't go. The Shadow Wolf leader smiled. A terrible smile. You misunderstand. He stepped forward. Closer. More dangerous. You don't have a choice. Ronan moved instantly, standing between them. A living wall. A shield. A protector. For 1 second. Neither alpha spoke. Then Malric laughed softly. There it is. Ronan narrowed his eyes. There what is? The smile widened. The reason you've been searching for her. A strange silence followed. because suddenly everyone was looking at Ronan, including Alara. Waiting, watching, wondering. Malric's voice dropped, dangerously low. You still don't know, do you? Ronan's expression darkened. Know what? The Shadow Wolf leader looked delighted, absolutely delighted, as if he'd been waiting years for this moment. Then he revealed the final secret. The moon goddess has a cruel sense of humor. Nobody understood. Not yet. Malric pointed directly at Alara, then directly at Ronan, and spoke the words that shattered the battlefield. The lost heir you spent years searching for. His smile became savage. Is your true mate. The world stopped. Completely. Because the one person most shocked by the revelation wasn't Alara. It was Ronan. Chapter 8. The world seemed to lose all sound. True mate. The words echoed across the battlefield. Again. 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 Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even the wolves stood frozen. Alara stared at Ronan. Ronan stared at her. Shock filled his face. Pure shock. Not denial. Not confusion. Shock. As though a missing piece had suddenly fallen into place. And he hated it. Not because he disliked her. Because he realized how much it explained. 3 years. 3 years searching. 3 years of unanswered questions. 3 years of feeling something was missing. Now he finally knew why. Cade broke the silence first. Oh, this is bad. Nobody disagreed. Especially Ronan. His gaze remained locked on Alara. And for the first time since she had known him, the Alpha King looked vulnerable. Truly vulnerable. Alara's chest tightened painfully. Because she remembered. She remembered the spring festival. The moment her wolf recognized him. The moment everything changed. And suddenly she understood something horrifying. Her wolf had known. Years ago. Long before anyone else. Long before Ronan. Long before this revelation. Tears filled her eyes. Not because she was happy. Because she was angry. 3 years. 3 years of heartbreak. 3 years of loneliness. 3 years believing she meant nothing to him. And now fate expected everything to be fixed? No. Absolutely not. No. The word escaped her lips. Ronan blinked. What? No. Her voice strengthened. The battlefield watched. Silently. Tensely. Alara wiped her tears away. Angrily. You don't get to do this. Ronan looked genuinely confused. Alara? No. She stepped back. Away from him. Away from everyone. 3 years ago I left. Pain cracked through her voice. You didn't come after me. Ronan flinched. Actually flinched. The sight stunned everyone. Including her. You didn't ask where I went. Another step backward. You didn't ask if I was alive. Another. You didn't even know who I was. Every word landed like a blade. Because every word was true. Ronan had no defense. None. For once in his life, the Alpha King stood speechless. Malric watched with amusement. Seraphine watched with sadness. Darius watched with something else. Hope. Strangely enough, hope. Then Ronan finally spoke. Quietly. I know. The battlefield fell silent. I know. His voice broke slightly. And that frightened Alara more than anger ever could. Because Ronan Blackthorn never sounded broken. Never. Yet he did now. I failed you. The admission stunned everyone. Warriors exchanged shocked looks. Cade closed his eyes, as if hearing the impossible. An Alpha King admitting failure. Publicly. Without excuses. Without pride. Without defense. I failed you, Ronan repeated. Alara's heart twisted painfully, because part of her wanted to hear those words, had wanted to hear them for years, but another part remained wounded. Still bleeding, still afraid. Before anyone could speak, Seraphine suddenly cried out. The sound shocked everyone. She staggered backward. Clutching her side, blood appeared between her fingers. Fresh blood. dark blood. The battlefield erupted into chaos again. Malric immediately turned, his expression furious. What happened? Then everyone saw it. An arrow, buried deep in Seraphine's side. The shot had come from behind, not from the village, not from Ronan's warriors, from Malric's own army. Confusion spread instantly. One shadow wolf stepped forward, then another, then 5 more, their eyes fixed on Seraphine. Not protectively, hungrily, dangerously. Malric's face darkened. Stand down. Nobody obeyed. The nearest wolf smiled. A cruel smile. And suddenly Alara understood. The attack wasn't united. The shadow wolves weren't united. There were factions. Internal enemies. Internal betrayals. Then the wolf spoke. And everything changed. The air belongs to no one. Malric's expression became murderous. The wolf laughed. You promised us power. More wolves stepped forward. You promised us territory. Another. You promised us the bloodline. The battlefield exploded into confusion. Warriors no longer knew who their enemies were. Shadow wolves turned against shadow wolves. Chaos spread everywhere. Then the traitor leader pointed directly at Alara. Kill her! The command echoed through the night. Every traitor wolf charged, straight toward her. Thousands. Not to capture, to kill. Ronan moved first. Of course he did. His wolf erupted forward like a storm. Darius followed instantly. Cade drew his weapons. The battlefield became a wall of protection around Alara, a shield, a fortress. And for the first time in her life, she realized something important. They weren't protecting her because of her bloodline, or her gift, or her inheritance. They were protecting her because she mattered. That realization hit harder than any revelation. Then Seraphine screamed. A terrible scream. Alara turned. Her sister had collapsed. The arrow wound spreading dark veins across her skin. Poison. Powerful poison. Deadly poison. Even from across the battlefield, Alara could see it. And somehow she knew. If she didn't help, Seraphine would die. The sister she had found only minutes ago. The sister who had searched 18 years for her would die. Alara didn't think. She ran. Alara! Ronan shouted. Too late. She dropped beside Seraphine. The poison spread rapidly. Minutes left. Maybe less. Seraphine smiled weakly. Still stubborn. Alara ignored her. Silver light already gathering beneath her skin. You are not dying. Seraphine laughed softly. Bossy. Tears blurred Alara's vision. She placed both hands over the wound and released everything. All of it. The power. The gift. The healing. The silver light exploded across the battlefield. Brighter than moonlight. Brighter than fire. Brighter than anything anyone had ever seen. The ground trembled. The air vibrated. Every wolf froze. Every warrior froze. Even Malric froze. Because something impossible was happening. The silver light didn't stop with Seraphine. It spread. Across the battlefield. Across the wounded. Across everyone. Broken bones healed. Deep wounds closed. Poison vanished. Pain disappeared. Hundreds of injured warriors rose to their feet. Completely healed. The battlefield stood in stunned silence. Nobody understood what they were witnessing. Nobody except Malric. The shadow wolf leader slowly smiled. Not with triumph. With fear. Real fear. For the first time. Impossible. The word escaped him. Then he took a step backward. Another. And another. As though he had seen a ghost. As though he recognized something no one else did. Alara's vision blurred. The healing had taken too much. Far too much. Her strength vanished. Her legs gave out. The world tilted. She fell. But she never hit the ground. Strong arms caught her. Ronan. Of course it was Ronan. His face hovered above hers. Terrified. Completely terrified. The Alpha King held her as if letting go would destroy him. And then Malric revealed the final truth. The truth that explained everything. The truth that changed the entire war. His voice shook as he spoke. The prophecy. Everyone turned toward him. Malric stared at Alara, as if seeing her for the first time. The Mooncrest heir isn't just a healer. Silence spread across the battlefield. Then Malric whispered the words that made every face go pale. She is the one destined to end us all. Chapter 9. Darkness. That was the first thing Alara remembered. Not pain, not fear, only darkness. Then voices slowly drifted through the shadows. Distant, blurred, worried, still unconscious. She's exhausted. Will she wake up? She has to. The last voice sounded different. Rougher. More desperate. Ronan. Alara recognized it immediately. A strange warmth spread through her chest. Then she opened her eyes. Soft candlelight greeted her. Wooden walls. A familiar ceiling. Darius's cottage. She was alive. For now. The realization brought relief. Brief relief. Because memory returned seconds later. The battle. Seraphine. The healing. The prophecy. The war. Alara immediately sat upright. Too fast. Pain shot through her body. Strong hands caught her shoulders. Easy. Ronan. Of course. He sat beside the bed. Still there. Still watching. Still worried. His dark eyes met hers. And for the first time, she noticed something unusual. He looked exhausted. Truly exhausted. As if he hadn't slept. Hadn't rested. Hadn't moved. For a very long time. How long? She asked. 2 days. Her heart skipped. 2 days? Ronan nodded. You scared everyone. A faint smile appeared. Small, fragile, yet real. Then it disappeared, because reality returned. Seraphine? Alive. Relief flooded her. Darius? Alive. Cade? Annoying as ever. A laugh escaped her. Unexpected, unwanted, necessary. Ronan stared at her for a second, then looked away, as if the sound affected him more than it should. The room fell quiet. Not uncomfortable. Not exactly. Just complicated. Finally, Alara broke the silence. The prophecy. His expression darkened immediately. There it was. The problem neither wanted to discuss. The prophecy is real. She hated how calmly he said it. As far as we know. Alara leaned back against the pillows. Exhaustion still lingered. So tell me. Ronan hesitated, then sighed. You deserve the truth. For once, the words remained unspoken, yet both heard them. Ronan stood and crossed to the window. The morning sun painted the room gold, but nothing felt warm. Not anymore. Long ago, before kingdoms existed, Alara listened carefully. The Mooncrest bloodline united the wolf territories. His voice remained steady, not through war, through healing. She frowned. Healing. Ronan nodded. Their gift ended conflicts, ended blood feuds, stopped wars. The story sounded impossible, yet after what she had done on the battlefield, perhaps not. The Shadow Wolves believed that gift threatened them. His jaw tightened. So, they tried to erase the bloodline. Alara looked down at her hands. The same hands that healed. The same hands everyone now feared. Then why am I dangerous? Ronan turned toward her, his eyes serious. Because the prophecy says you'll destroy them. Destroy. Such a violent word. Such a terrible word. Alara hated it immediately. I'm not a weapon. No. His answer came instantly, firmly, certain. The speed of it surprised her. Apparently it surprised him too. For a moment, neither spoke. Then a knock interrupted them. The door opened. Darius entered first, followed by Cade, and Seraphine. Alara's eyes widened. Her sister smiled. A genuine smile this time. Alive, healthy, safe. Before anyone could react, Alara launched herself from the bed and hugged her. Hard. Very hard. Seraphine laughed through tears. There she is. The words broke something inside both of them. Years lost. Years stolen. Years apart. Neither knew how to recover them. Yet somehow this felt like a beginning. Eventually they separated, though neither wanted to. Then Darius cleared his throat. Everyone looked at him, which was unfortunate, Because his expression was grim. Very grim. What happened? Darius exchanged a glance with Ronan. Never a good sign. The shadow wolves split. Elara frowned. We know that. Not completely. Cade stepped forward. The traitors took control. Her stomach dropped. What? Seraphine nodded sadly. Malric lost half his forces. The information seemed positive. At first. Then Elara noticed nobody looked relieved. Not one of them. Which meant there was more. Far more. What aren't you saying? Silence. Again. Always silence. Finally Ronan answered. The traitors don't want to capture you. Cold spread through her body. What do they want? Nobody answered immediately. Because everyone knew. And everyone hated it. Then Cade said it. They want you dead. The room fell silent. Completely silent. Elara expected fear. Instead, she felt tired. So incredibly tired. Of running. Of hiding. Of being hunted. Something changed inside her. Quietly. Deeply. Permanently. She looked toward the window. Toward the distant mountains. Toward the future. Then she made a decision. A terrifying decision. A necessary decision. No. Everyone stared. No? Darius asked. Elara slowly stood. Ignoring exhaustion. Ignoring weakness. Ignoring fear. No more running. The words surprised even her. Yet once spoken, they felt right. Absolutely right. The room remained quiet. Listening. Waiting. I spent 18 years hiding from a past I didn't know. Her gaze moved from face to face. Then 3 years, hiding from a future I feared. Ronan's eyes never left hers. And look where it brought us. Nobody argued, nobody could. Because she was right. The danger had found her anyway. The war had found her anyway. The truth had found her anyway. Elara took a deep breath. Then spoke clearly. I'm ending this. The room exploded. Immediately. No. Ronan. Absolutely not. Darius. Terrible plan. Cade. Even Seraphine looked alarmed. Yet Elara simply smiled. For the first time in days. A calm smile. A determined smile. A dangerous smile. I'm not fighting alone. That shut everyone up. Because suddenly they understood. She wasn't leaving. She wasn't surrendering. She wasn't sacrificing herself. She was choosing. Choosing them. Choosing trust. Choosing family. Choosing allies. Choosing hope. Then a scout burst through the door. Breathing hard. Terrified. The room instantly tensed. What happened? Ronan demanded. The scout swallowed. Then delivered the news. The traitor army crossed the northern pass. Everyone froze. The northern pass. The last route before Blackthorn Kingdom. The final defensive line. The place where everything would be decided. The final battle. The scout continued. There are over 10,000 wolves. Silence. Heavy silence. Then Elara looked at Ronan. Ronan looked at Elara. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. They both understood. The war was coming, and there would be no second chances. That night, long after everyone else slept, Elara stood alone beneath the moon, thinking, remembering, preparing. Footsteps approached. She didn't need to turn around. She already knew who it was. Ronan stopped beside her. For a while, neither spoke. The moonlight painted the valley silver. Peaceful, beautiful, temporary. Finally Ronan broke the silence. I was wrong. Elara looked at him. About many things, she suspected. His eyes met hers. Raw honesty filled them. The kind that couldn't be faked. I thought you'd come back. The admission hurt. Because she remembered the title of her pain. The belief everyone shared. The belief that she would return. Broken. Defeated. Waiting. Needing. Ronan lowered his gaze. I thought no matter what happened. His voice cracked slightly. You'd still be there. The truth landed heavily between them. Not arrogance. Not cruelty. A mistake. A terrible mistake. The kind people realized too late. Elara stared at the moon. Then softly asked, And when you saw me wearing another alpha's ring? Ronan laughed once. A broken laugh. Painful. Honest. It felt like being torn apart. The confession stunned both of them. Then Ilara frowned. Wait. Something clicked. Something important. I never wore another alpha's ring. Ronan froze. Completely froze. Slowly. Very slowly. They looked at each other, confusion spreading. Because the image from the royal gathering, the woman he had seen, the ring, the realization struck simultaneously. And it was horrifying, because if it wasn't Ilara, then someone had deliberately made Ronan believe it was. And only one person could have arranged that deception. The same person who erased her records. The same person who started the lies. The same person who had been hiding in the shadows all along. Then, a familiar voice spoke from the darkness behind them. A woman's voice. Cold. Amused. Dangerous. You finally figured it out. Ilara turned. Ronan turned. And both felt the blood drain from their faces. Because standing beneath the trees was the one person neither expected. The woman Ronan had once been engaged to. And she was smiling. Chapter 10. The woman stepped from the shadows. Elegant. Perfectly dressed. Completely unafraid. Lady Vivian Hart. The woman Ronan had once planned to marry. The woman Ilara had quietly hated for years. The woman who was supposed to be far away. Very far away. Yet here she stood, smiling, as if she had been waiting for this moment. Ronan's expression instantly hardened. Vivienne. She inclined her head politely. Your Majesty. The formality felt strange. Wrong. Artificial. Ilara immediately noticed. So did Ronan. You shouldn't be here. Vivienne laughed softly. Neither should many people. The answer chilled the night air. Ronan stepped forward. What have you done? For the first time, her smile faded, and something darker appeared. Something bitter. Something broken. You really don't know? The question caught everyone off guard. Vivienne looked tired. Not physically, emotionally, like someone carrying a wound for too long. Then she looked directly at Ilara. I knew about you. The confession hit like thunder. Ilara froze. What? Vivienne nodded. I knew years ago. The world seemed to stop. Even Ronan looked stunned. You knew? I found the records. Her voice trembled. Just slightly. The real records. The silence became unbearable. Vivienne took a slow breath. Then the truth finally emerged. I discovered you were his mate. Ilara's heart skipped. No. No. Vivienne laughed bitterly. I was supposed to marry the Alpha King. Tears glistened in her eyes. And then, I discovered fate had already chosen someone else. Pain filled her voice. Real pain. The kind that couldn't be faked. For the first time, Ilara saw her differently. Not as a rival, not as an enemy, but as a woman whose dreams had shattered. Just like hers once had. Vivienne continued. I should have walked away. Ronan said nothing, because he knew she was right. But I didn't. Her eyes lowered. I was angry. The admission came quietly. Honestly. Dangerously honestly. Then she revealed everything. She paid the palace clerk. She erased records. She created false reports. She made Ilara disappear. Not completely. Just enough. Enough to hide the truth. Enough to delay fate. Enough to keep Ronan from ever discovering his mate. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I kept telling myself I was protecting my future. Her voice broke. But really? A sad smile appeared. I was destroying everyone else's. The confession hung heavily in the night. Years of pain. Years of lies. Years of consequences. Finally, Ronan spoke. Why tell us now? Vivienne looked toward the mountains. Toward the approaching war. Toward the end. Because I made a terrible mistake. Then her eyes met Ilara's. And because I know how to stop them. The next hour changed everything. Vivienne knew the traitors. Knew their plans. Knew their routes. Their leaders. Their weaknesses. She had secretly been gathering information for months. Trying to undo the damage she caused. Trying to earn forgiveness she didn't deserve. By sunrise, a strategy existed. For the first time since the war began, hope returned. Real hope. The final battle came 3 days later. At the northern pass, 10,000 shadow wolves, thousands of allied warriors, a battlefield stretching beyond the horizon. The air itself seemed to tremble. Alara stood beside Ronan, Darius, Cade, Seraphine, and hundreds of others willing to fight. Not for power, not for territory, for peace. The enemy leader stepped forward. The traitor Alpha, cold eyes, cruel smile, absolute confidence. You should have run. Alara looked directly at him, then shook her head. No. The answer echoed across the valley. No more running. The battle began. And the world exploded. Wolves collided like storms. Warriors clashed. The earth shook. Hours passed. Victory shifted constantly. Neither side gained ground. Until the traitor Alpha finally reached her. Exactly as he intended. Exactly as she expected. Their eyes met. The battlefield faded. Everything led to this moment. You should have died years ago. His voice dripped hatred. Alara stared calmly. No. Silver light appeared beneath her skin. Bright, pure, ancient. The traitor charged. So did she. The impact shook the valley. Power erupted outward. Moonlight flooded the battlefield. Not destructive, not violent. Healing, hope, unity. The silver light spread farther and farther, touching wolves, touching warriors, touching enemies. The traitor Alpha screamed, because hatred could not survive inside the light. Fear could not survive. Greed could not survive. The darkness inside him shattered, and with it, the shadow wolves finally broke. Thousands surrendered, thousands fled. The war ended, just like that. Not through destruction, through healing, exactly as the Mooncrest bloodline always had. Weeks later, peace returned. Slowly, carefully, beautifully. The kingdoms began rebuilding. Old alliances reformed. New friendships emerged. For the first time in generations, the wolves spoke of the future instead of the past. And Alara, her life changed completely, yet somehow remained exactly the same. She still healed people, still visited villages, still preferred simple cottages to grand palaces. Some things never changed. One evening, she stood overlooking a valley filled with wildflowers. The sunset painted everything gold. Footsteps approached behind her. Familiar footsteps. She smiled without turning. You're late. Ronan stopped beside her. By 3 minutes. 4. He laughed softly. A sound she had grown surprisingly fond of. For a moment, they simply watched the sunset. Together, comfortably, peacefully. Then Ronan reached into his pocket. Alara immediately became suspicious. That expression never meant anything simple. What are you doing? No interruptions. That sounds dangerous. It probably is. The answer made her laugh. Then Ronan knelt, and the entire world stopped. Alara stared, blinking, certain she was imagining things. The Alpha King smiled nervously, actually nervously, which seemed impossible. Yet there it was. I spent years searching for you. His voice was quiet, honest. I just didn't know why. Emotion tightened her throat. I know. I spent years regretting you. A pause. Then I realized something. His eyes met hers. Warm. Certain. Home. I wasn't regretting losing you. The ring appeared. Simple silver. Beautiful. Meaningful. I was regretting never choosing you. Tears filled her eyes immediately. Because that was all she had ever wanted. Not a crown. Not a kingdom. Not destiny. A choice. To be chosen. Ronan held out the ring. Not as a king. Not as an alpha. As a man. Alara Ashwood. His voice shook slightly. Will you let me spend the rest of my life proving I deserve you? The question broke her. Completely. Wonderfully. She laughed through tears. The happiest tears she had ever cried. Then she answered, yes. The word barely left her lips before Ronan pulled her into his arms. The ring slipped onto her finger. Perfectly. as though it had always belonged there. Above them, the moon appeared, bright, silent, watching. And somewhere in that peaceful night, two hearts finally found what fate had tried to give them years before. Not because destiny demanded it, not because prophecy declared it, not because the moon goddess willed it, but because after every mistake, every loss, every heartbreak, they finally chose each other. The end.